The Atlanta Braves have a left field problem. Feels like they also have a left-handed relief problem. Let's talk about both. Yes, welcome on into Braves Today, your daily source for news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball, and you can find all of my written work, bravestoday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. We're proudly part of the Believe Podcast Network and presented to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app or go to fanduel.com to get started. If you hear any background noise, my co-host Bandit is going to town on a bone back here, so I apologize. I'll try to filter that out in post, but if you hear anything, that's what it is. I want to talk about last night's game, right? We'll get that in the third segment. The Braves offense couldn't keep up with Miami's offense, but they were asked to do that because the pitching couldn't necessarily hold their own. We're going to talk about the state of left-handed relief for this team. I'm starting to become convinced you're going to have to make an acquisition at the deadline for a lefty reliever to supplement Dylan Lee. But before we do that, let's talk about the outfield. Because the Braves are in a situation right now where they're not getting really anything to speak of out of their standard left fielders, Mike Yastrzemski and Eli White. Mike Yastrzemski is hitting 192 on the season with a 569 OPS. And the way that this happened, he picked up 5 hits in the opening series against Kansas City. Classic revenge game thing there. He was in Kansas City a little while last year. He goes 5 for 10, a double, a triple, drives in 1, scores a run, strikes out 1 time. After that series, since then, despite picking up hits in the finale against Cleveland and the opener against Miami, Mike Yastrzemski is hitting 119 with a 403 OPS. Again, he had 5 hits in that opening series. He has 5 hits the entire rest of the season. He is 10 for 52. He's walked 8 times. He struck out 16. He did steal a base last night. We saw the Antoine Richardson, not quick jump. The Antoine Richardson uncompetitive massive jump steal thing. But are these 2 hits in the last 2 days a sign that he's finally starting to come around? Or is the Statcast card, which is very blue so far, is the Statcast card reason for concern? So let's talk about that and about Eli White. Because, again, 192 average, 569 OPS for Yastrzemski. The Statcast card, with the color, is a lot of blue. There's a lot of blue on there. The expected batting average for Yastrzemski is even worse than his actual 192. It's a 167. I mentioned this last week. He is overperforming the Statcast card, and his numbers are still atrocious. When it comes to slugging, he's slugging 269. That is an overperformance. The Statcast card says he should be slugging 223. And then the rest of this is the barrel rates are incredibly poor. The hard hit rate, the average exit velocity, the bat speed is below average, although it's close to where he's always been. It's very, very close to his 2024 season. He's like less than half a mile an hour below that. And I'm seeing how he hit in spring. He did well in spring. Riley did well in spring. I'm inclined to give this a little bit more benefit of the doubt. I do think when Ha-Seong Kim comes back, you are in a position where you can play Dubon out there more. Dubon is overperforming. We talked about this the other day. He is overperforming all of his inputs. And he's going to regress a little bit. But still, this is something where Yastrzemski, let's be clear on this. Part of this for Yastrzemski, what happened the first year you had Jared Kelenic, is Yastrzemski's being asked to do more than he originally was supposed to do. because of Eli White's injury, we're getting there. Because of Eli White's injury, he's had to start against some lefties. And they've left him out there for some at-bats against lefties and things like that. And the role he was brought in to manage was hitting right-handed pitching. So there's a little bit of that. But even with all of that factored in, it's still a pretty dreadful performance for the most part by Mike Yastrzemski. And he's going to keep getting run out there. They're at this point with no jerks and Profar for the whole season. Mike Yastrzemski is the starter. For all intents and purposes, he is now your starter, and he's going to play almost every day. And part of the reason he's going to play every day is Eli White is still just on the bench and unavailable. And I do think it's worth us discussing what the Braves are going to do there, and do they need to make a move? Because so far in a small sample size, and literally it's 15 plate appearances, 13 at-bats. Eli White's not had the success he had last year. He is 2 for 13, 1 run scored. But again, it's an incredibly small sample size. I don't think we can say, based off of his performance, that Eli White is a problem. But what we can say is his injury makes it less likely that he's going to be useful going forward, or at least for the short term. In case you missed it, I think I mentioned it yesterday, Eli White's down with plantar fasciitis. So for those of you who are kind of unaware of how that works, this is an inflammation of the tissue on the bottom of your foot. And it's the tissue that connects your heel, or I guess the heel bone, to your toes. It can be painful. It can impact how you walk. It can impact, obviously, your ability to run. And it usually takes concentrated treatment and rest to get better. And the problem for White is he is a speed-dependent player, right? Like me getting over plantar fasciitis is a different standard than what Eli White has to get to. And I just feel like this isn't the kind of thing that's going to resolve in a couple days. But Atlanta's doing the thing that they've done multiple times in the last couple seasons. It's very frustrating. It's clear to me this is a front office driven thing and not a coaching staff driven thing, because now we see this under a different coaching staff as well, where they just have him on the bench and he's unavailable, which means you play shorthanded. We had to use Luke Williams in left field, I think on Sunday, just to have an option for the outfield because Eli White was unavailable. Now, you do have the ability to backdate an injured list placement by 3 days. So today feels like this is the decision day. And by the time this show comes out, full disclosure, I'm recording this at 8:20 a.m. on Tuesday. I was waiting as long as I could to record this, but I got to get this done to get to work. By the time this comes out, they could have made a roster move. But it feels like you need to do something as far as an injured list placement to get him off of his feet, but to also give the team an actual person they can use. Because even if he returns to play today, is he going to hit 100th percentile sprint speed at 30.3 feet per second with a foot injury? I don't think he is. So get him off of his feet, put him on the injured list, and bring up somebody else from Gwinnett. And when you're trying to figure out which of these outfielders, I mean, there's 4 outfielders in Gwinnett, all with different roster situations that you can do. There are 2 that have options, a lefty and a righty, and there are 2 that do not, both a lefty and a righty, depending on the time frame of the Eli White injured list thing. If he's going to be out for 2 weeks, you probably grab somebody with options so that you put him on a 40-man roster, and then you can send them down when he's back. Those options there, Brewer Hicklen is a right-handed hitter. They got him out of Philadelphia's system. And DeShawn Keirsey Jr. is a left-handed hitter. They got him out of Minnesota's system. Hicklen has one option remaining. Keirsey has two. And so far this year, Brewer Hicklen in AAA is hitting .276. He has 8 hits and 29 at-bats. He scored 6 runs, 1 RBI, 1 double, 2 stolen bases, has been caught stealing. When you look at Keirsey, he's not doing as well. He's batting .178, although he does have a home run, 13 strikeouts to 2 walks. He's 8 for 45 there, 6 runs, 3 doubles, a triple, and a homer. I feel like of those two, if you're grabbing one of those, Brewer Hicklen is probably the guy you grab. Although, if you do that, the fact that he has one option remaining means that after this season, he's out of options and you got to figure out what to do with him. So that could be a thing there. Again, if it's a short-term absence, you probably grab one of those two guys. Or you just got to get comfortable playing playing Kyle Farmer in the field. I combined Kyle Farmer and Luke Williams there. You got to be comfortable playing Kyle Farmer in the field. If it's a longer-term absence, you can grab one of the two guys that does not have options, and you can carry them for a longer period of the season. Ben Gamel is about to turn 34. We got him as a free agent from the Angels, but he's been around the league a little bit. José Azocar, free agent from the Mets back in December, he's about to turn 30. But either one of those guys would be somebody that you could keep on the roster in a longer-term situation. I guess I probably prefer Gamel over Azocar, although I do think Azocar is better suited to center field, if I remember right, than Gamel is. But either way, I just feel like you can't afford to carry Eli White for longer than this if he's not healthy. You gotta make a move. But either way, if Mike Yastrzemski could get going, that would answer a lot of the questions you would have about left field. In just a minute, let's talk about left-handed relief pitching. We have faith in Dylan Lee for the most part. He had some homer issues late last year. I think those were kind of overuse and flukiness. But let's talk about everybody else, because I don't feel great about Aaron Bummer. I don't think Dylan Dodd's the answer, and I'll explain why. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. Welcome back to Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby. Let's talk about left-handed relief pitching. I think we saw last night, if you needed any more evidence, and I don't think any of us did, José Suarez is not it. José Suarez is not the answer. But what we also saw last night was that Aaron Bummer is not the same guy that we originally acquired. Remember, when we got him via trade from the Chicago White Sox, he was coming off of a season where he put up a 6.79 ERA, but he had a 3.58 fielding independent pitching. He's been one of the best relievers in baseball at getting ground balls. And the way that he did that is a pitch mix that is very reliant on a sinker, a sweeper, at least it was, a sinker and a sweeper, and just doing a lot of stuff left to right from a lower kind of sidearm looking slot. And over time, he has gradually not changed who he was as a pitcher. He's still doing all the same things. He's just not doing them as well. So his 2023 season, when we got Aaron Bummer, sinker, sweeper, cutter, four-seam changeup was the arsenal. And you could kind of see, like, it was almost entirely sinker, sweeper to everybody. Those two pitches always combined for like 90% usage. He'd throw the cutter a little bit more to righties as a bridge pitch. Didn't throw the changeup to lefties because, lefty changeup thing. But he was averaging 94 on the sinker. The sweeper was in the low 80s. Most lefty sweepers are kind of, right below 80 miles an hour. He was like 82, 83 on it. Cutter was 87. Four-seamer was 94. Changeup was high 80s. And over time, his arm angle has gone up a little bit, kind of the opposite of what a lot of guys do. He was at 9 degrees when we got him, and his arm angle dropped a little bit more when he first got here. His fantastic 2024 season, I say fantastic, the actual ERA was 3.58. The expected was one of the best in baseball at 2.81. His barrel rate was 1.3%, 100th percentile. His ground ball rate was 98th percentile. His hard hit rate was 90th percentile. He was throwing 93. This season, Aaron Bummer is throwing 90.2 miles an hour on the sinker. He's also using the curveball more than the sweeper to righties. He is a different pitcher than he was when we got him. The stuff, it's all the same 5 pitches, but the way that he uses them. He's minimized the sweeper to righties, and he instead goes with a curveball. And then lefties, it is now sinker, sweeper, curveball. He's not throwing that changeup. And we saw the issues with that curveball last night. The Braves tried to go back-to-back curveballs. I think it was a down and in to Agustin Ramirez. They got the first one on the black. They tried to do another one, and it leaked over the plate, and Agustin Ramirez launched it. And that was a 3-run inning for Miami. He gave up a couple ground ball singles. He got the ground ball, and they got through. They were placed well. And then he gives up a 3-run home run. And you're in this a frustrating position of, because you've kind of kicked the can down the road on his contract. If you remember, we went and we redid some of the contracts after 24. And so he's earning a salary of $9.5 million this year. We reworked his deal in November of 2024. It was him and Lopez. And so you're on the hook for a bunch of money. And so far, he's been unable to provide the return you want from that money. And looking at the underlying stuff, it's hard to see how he's going to get back to the guy that you thought he was going to be when you signed him to the deal. And let's be clear, his stuff plus the actual numbers on his pitches, his overall stuff plus is a 101, which is 1% above average, slightly above average, right? The slider's a 108. I'm sorry, the sweeper's a 108. They have it classified as a slider on Fangraphs. 112 on the curveball, and that's why he's throwing the curveball more. But all of that is down from where he was when we got him. 23 and 24. In 2023, every single pitch of his, other than the changeup, which he stopped throwing, was above average. Every single one. Right now, the only ones that are above average are the slider and the curveball. His stuff plus was 114 in 2023 and 4. So roughly 14%. Not really how stuff plus works, but either way, really good pitcher, right? One of the highest stuff pluses on the team. Right now, it's a 101. And the issue here is his locations have also cratered. His location plus, which is another kind of component to evaluate pitching. Stuff plus, that's the one we always talk about because it's the raw movement of the pitches. Location plus is where you put them. And we don't really talk about that one because that one's not nearly as exciting to talk about, right? Like I can gush over a fantastic, front hip sinker or something. But for the most part, it's harder to talk about locations, especially in the audio form, right? But he, in 24, 25, 98 to 100. So he had really good stuff, but his locations were pretty close to average too. This year, he's at an 84 location plus, which means his overall pitching score in the Fangraphs model, which combines stuff plus and locations, is a 79. Aaron Bummer, unless he magically regains either the ability to locate or a couple ticks on his fastball, Aaron Bummer has become a liability in the pen. Yes, he can still get ground balls. He can still generate ground balls. He doesn't have a large enough sample size for this to be predictive so far this year. He's at like 45%. He's also thrown 5 innings. So like it's hard to say that this is exactly who he is. Ground ball rate takes longer to stabilize than this. But everything else under the hood does not look promising for Aaron Bummer. We know José Suarez is not going to be the guy, right? We know he gets hit hard. He gets a lot of chase and whiffs and decent strikeouts, 11 strikeouts and 8 1/3, but he also gives up a lot of hard contact, and it's not always on the ground, and so he's struggling, right? So we know it's not him. You have Dylan Lee, who we are assuming is going to be back to form after last year's overuse. And so you've got to find another leverage lefty. And the names that come up a lot, Dylan Dodd is a name that comes up a lot. And I like Dylan Dodd. Going from a starter to a reliever, he added a cutter. It's become his primary fastball. Last year was his largest major league sample size as his best sample size as a reliever. There we go. He threw, 35 innings at the major league level, 30 strikeouts, 5 homers, 5 walks, 14 earned runs, 3.60 ERA. Despite it, he as a lefty, you bring in your lefty relievers to neutralize their lefties, right? Dylan Dodd's better against righties than lefties. Last year, 160 batting average allowed to righties, a 463 OPS. Lefties, however, 319 average and a 940 OPS. There's a little bit of sample size stuff in here, but even when you look at his entire career, including when he was a starter, he is still better against righties than lefties. In his career, including the times when he struggled as a starter, the difference in OPS between righties and lefties is 230 points in favor of you have him face righties. So Dylan Dodd, I think, can be a major league, a regular reliever in your pen. He probably takes over a spot next year. The Joe Jimenez money's off the books. Aaron Bummer's going to be gone. He probably takes over as a reliever in your pen when he's out of options next year. But he's not the answer. So then the question becomes, okay, is it Hayden Harris? Hayden Harris is 4-seam sweeper splitter in Gwinnett. In spring, I think it was in spring training, he was averaging just under 92 on the 4-seamer with high 80s splitter, low 80s sweeper. Good velo for a sweeper. Is he the answer here? Is he the guy that can come up and take care of righties? Last year, in his fantastic, I'm going to call it a breakout season between AA and AAA before he came in, then his brief time in the majors, when you look at what he did against righties and lefties, righties hit him at an 0.99 batting average and a 374 OPS. Lefties hit him at a 169 average and a 506 OPS. Very small sample size. Again, very small sample size. But I feel like you're going to need to find a lefty reliever at the trade deadline. You're going to have to go find somebody. Because right now, I just don't see the only other lefty that you have available is, you have Dodd, you have him, you have Connor Thomas. Ray Kerr is hurt. So it's Dodd, Harris, Connor Thomas, who I literally could not tell you anything about. And that's it. That's all you have. That's all you have in AAA. You're going to have to go find a lefty reliever. Unless Aaron Bummer can fix it. And for the sake of the money you're paying him, it would be nice if he could. But I just don't feel like that's in the cards. In just a minute, let's talk about last night. Some frustrating stuff there on both sides of the ball. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. Final segment of Braves Today, Lindsay Crosby. The offense wasn't able to keep up with Miami last night. Braves lose that one 10-4. We went 20 minutes on the postcast talking all about it. But I do want to kind of point out that the offense wasn't able to keep up, but the pitching was really the issue here. And you saw the quick hook by Walt Weiss again. He's been very aggressive at pulling pitchers out early and going to the pin. And the news came out from friend of the show, Chad Bishop, right at the end of the postcast last night, that this was kind of planned for Grant Holmes. They thought that he pushed a little harder than they would have liked in his last start. And so they wanted to make this one a little bit shorter. Quick reminder, that last start of his in LA, he goes 6 2/3 innings, 2 runs on 5 hits, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. He throws 99 pitches, but couldn't get out of the 7th, and they went to a reliever to finish the 7th. So last night, he goes 4 innings, 3 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Runs into trouble. He's perfect through 3. Runs into trouble in the 4th, and they end up pulling him from the game after the 4th inning. He does not come back out for the 5th. So he gives up a single to open the 4th inning, back-to-back walks to load the bases with no outs. And Miami cashes all 3 of these in. Sac fly brings in 1, singles bring in 2 more. He did get a flyout, he did get a strikeout, but he throws 30 pitches in the inning. 10 whiffs in the game, 9 on the slider, but just the walks, and then Miami cashing those in is kind of what dooms him there. And then again, Bummer comes in. He gets 2 ground balls, but both of them get through, and then the homer off the curveball by Augustin Ramirez. Roldy Munoz comes up. Very first pitch he throws to open the 6th inning is solo shot. He throws a sinker kind of middle of the zone. He kind of just like grooves a first pitch sinker, and it gets launched. He did get a little bit of bad luck there. Gives up a single, and that runner steals second, is advanced to third on a flyout, and then scores on a soft ground ball that dies before it gets to Austin Riley at third base. And then another run scores off of like a ground ball that just tipped off of Munoz's glove and went to Ozzy. And then José Suarez gets tagged for 4 runs on a hit. These kind of games are going to happen. And like the pitchers kind of got batting averaged on balls in play to death, BABIP to death a little bit in this one. But at the same time, they weren't helping themselves, right? Holmes lost his command in the 4th inning. And this is a common kind of issue that we've seen with Grant Holmes on when he gets to the 2nd and the 3rd time through the order, he really struggles. And I honestly, I'm fine with him being in the rotation right now because you don't have a ton of options. But if you game out a scenario where, let's say Didier Fuentes comes up. We talked about this plenty now. Let's say Fuentes comes up to be the 5th starter. You first need that next week. And then Strider's going to return. I feel like what they're going to do is, unless Fuentes is just dominating, that they're going to put Fuentes back in Gwinnett. But if Fuentes is dominating, I feel like the move there, if they want to keep Fuentes in the rotation, is you put Grant Holmes in the pen. And I know a lot of people are going to say it needs to be Bryce Elder. And I still think the good version of Bryce Elder, which he's been more consistent this year, even his bad outing wasn't terrible. I think Grant Holmes has shown in the bullpen as the utility pitcher, he has a lot of value. And I do think that's the best way to handle Grant Holmes. And even if it's not now, let's say you get Hurston Waldrop in mid-season and you want to put him in the rotation. He has options. You can put him in Gwinnett. He has one option. But if you want to preserve that option and have him in the majors, I think Grant Holmes, unless Elder collapses between now and then, I think Grant Holmes is the person that goes to the pen. I do think he's stretched a little bit as a starter. If they had brought somebody in, he would have been the guy in the pen. Where they had Ronaldo Lopez as a starter, I think Grant Holmes is the guy they would have started in the pen. And again, he's had success in that role. He had more Fangraphs WAR as a utility pitcher in 2024 than he had as a starter in 2025. In 2024, he pitched 68 and a third innings. He made 7 starts, pitched in 26 total games, 1.2 WAR. That same Grant Holmes in the rotation, making 21 starts and 115 innings last year, was worth 0.9 WAR. He was more valuable to you as a reliever and a long man and a swing man or whatever than he was as a starter. And some of that is his walk rate. Like, his strikeout rate got slightly better when he came to the rotation. He went from 24.8% to 25%. Okay, great. His walk rate more than doubled. As a reliever, 5.3%. As a starter, 11%. Last year. It's even higher now, but it's a small sample size. It's like 11.4%, but it's also, it's a small sample size of 21 and 2/3 innings. So his whip was lower as a reliever, which makes sense. And he's walking a lot less guys, same number of strikeouts. We know he has the versatility to step in and give you 60 pitches if you need them. I think the best use for Grant Holmes is in the bullpen. Now, you can't afford to do that right now, but when you can afford to do it, that's what I want to see him do. And if you get to a point where you put Holmes in the bullpen over Fuentes, and then Fuentes falters, you can always bring Grant Holmes back, or you can just promote J.R. Ritchie. He has to go on the 40-man roster by the end of this year anyway, or I guess by December anyway. It really doesn't look like he has a ton of stuff that he's able to work on in AAA. Go ahead and call him up. When you need another starter, you've got Fuentes. Give him a job over Holmes in the rotation. And if Fuentes is not prepared, if Fuentes is having issues because he's, doesn't have reliable third pitch, he's not feeling the splitter or whatever, give J.R. Ritchie a shot. I don't think you have to be married to the Grant Holmes as a starter thing. I think we've seen now. He said his stuff's better than it's ever been when he came in this year. He still has the walk issues. There's guys in the organization that can give you a similar production. And I think Holmes would be better in the bullpen. That'll do it for Braves Today for Tuesday, April 14th. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time on Braves Today.